Hey guys, this is Clay with Texas Know-How again. Listen, if you've got a lot of parts that have a ton of rust on them, something that you got from maybe the wrecking yard, like those parts I just showed you, then you need to know about this method to remove rust. It's called electrolysis, and it's very easy to do. I'm going to set it up right now and I'll show you how I did it, okay? Alright, the first thing you're going to need is just something like this tote right here. Make sure it's not cracked. You don't want to get this thing completely set up and fit for this tote and then it not hold water. So find a tote, you may have to go swap something from your wife's laundry room or something, or from your storage. The next thing you're going to need is some sacrificial metal. So I went by, there's a metal yard close to here, and I went by and they just gave me these pieces of angle iron, and there's a little bit of C stuff there, C channel. So I've got different variety of stuff. This is little 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. This is 1 inch C channel. I got a piece that was 22 inches and I cut it down to 11. Some more 1/2 inch angle, and then I've got some 1 1/4, I think this is, angle right here. And you may notice what I did right in the same area of my shortest piece. I kind of shine them all up with my grinder, and the reason I did that was because I'm going to weld a little circumference around these boogers, and I'll show you how it all works. But what this is metal rod, and I think it's 3/16 metal rod, and you can get these at Home Depot. But what I'm doing here is going to eliminate having to string a bunch of wire around. You're only going to have to hook up your part and one end of this to your battery charger. So that's another thing I'll show you in just a minute. You got to have a battery charger, a cheap one, even from Walmart or Harbor Freight will work fine. So the other thing I did was I shined up the tip of this long one. That's where I'm going to hook I'm probably going to hook onto the battery charger right there on that one, and then all these will be hooked together with that rod. So what they're going to do is they'll sit around the corners like this. We'll set in one of these in each corner like that. There. Alright, so that's going to surround my parts, and then my parts will be hanging from a stick across here, hanging right down the middle, and this will all be in water. The trick is you got to have something like this. This is super washing soda by Arm & Hammer. Notice it's not baking soda. Super washing soda. Laundry booster. I got it at Walmart in the laundry section. So now all I got to do is I'm going to take my welder and I'm going to tack all these together. So this little rod will go around. And then I'll be able to, just when I want to clean it up and everything, just lift out this whole little sacrificial setup of metal right here easily. Just lift it out. I want it to be just like that, so it's in a corner. So let's tack one of these on. Where'd I cut that? 13.5, good. I'm sloping these in just a little bit because that container goes down at an angle. All I'm going to do, I'm going to have to shorten these rods because I forgot that this thing sticking out on the side over here. Actually, let's bend this a little bit around that. This might even be cooler. A little better design. set this in here. See that? Perfect. I'll just hook my my battery charger right there on that shiny spot. Hang my two pieces in here. These two pieces will hang right here, kind of suspended in the water, and it'll pull that stuff right off of them. So let's put the water in it and try it out. Alright. Let's get this stuff out of the box and stir a little bit in this. I'm going to stir a little bit in this this 5 gallon before I throw it in there, kind of get it started. I don't think it's super important how, you know, you just want to kind of, for the amount of water you have, you want to get some in there. I'm going to do that much. I probably did a cup. If you work outside and you're in the south, you should make one of these. See that handle on there? That's a little really fast swatting stick. Real lightweight. I made this out of cedar. And the reason I have it is wasp. When the wasps come flying around, you don't have to spray everything and get that crap all over your tools. You just take this and whap! And once you hit them, they go right to the ground. Step on them and you're done. That's my wasp stick. But it works good as a stirring stick too. I'm going to get this dissolved a little bit. What water's cold coming out of our well? I bet that's 55 degrees, maybe colder. Got a deep water well. Alright, let's pour it in there. Alright, I'm going to go get one more. One more to do it. I don't even know if it's going to take the whole extra 5 gallons, but let's pour this in here. I think that's about where I want it. Okay? Now obviously this is something that you guys need to have some parental watch over, okay? This ain't for the kids to be goofing around with electricity and water and all that kind of stuff. So let me grab my charger. Set it here. I'm going to put positive over here. Put negative on here. Like that. And I'm going to turn it on. Okay. So now I'm going to plug up my little battery charger. I'm going to put it on 12 volts and I'm going to leave it on the 2 amp setting. Let's see how that goes. Alright, so here goes. Okay, we're hooked up. And the little meter says maybe 1 amp on there. So we got 1 amp. I can already see stuff kind of foaming. That's cool. You can kind of see some stuff working around in there. A little bit here, got zoomed in too tight. Yeah, you can see it coming off that metal down there. See how it's coming off? I want to drop my camera in here, I'd kill it. Yeah, you can see it coming off right there. It's going to be cool. We're going to get that rust to stop. And these are spring perches. They hold the rear leaf springs to the rear axle. And where that bolt is what holds the bottom of the shock. So that's what you're looking at right here. It goes on my 2000 Explorer rear end, which is going on my F100. This is pretty neat. I'm going to probably pause camera and I'll bring you guys back in a couple hours and let's look and see what it looks like, and then I'll bring you back like a whole nother day later. I'm gonna leave this thing cooking for a few days, and every time I pull something off the vehicle that I'm rebuilding, that F100, I'll be dunking in here and using electrolysis, because basically I'm gonna turn that ferrous oxide, that rust, into I think it's called magnetite. Yeah, magnetite, Fe3O4 instead of Fe3O2 is what rust is, and it's very active. Rust is very active. It's going to continue to work and work and work and work, but that magnetite that we turn it into with this process, electrolysis, basically stabilizes that metal and stabilizes that material. It's going to look black. Same thing that people find when they're mining, for gold, and they'll find that magnetite. It's a black looking metal. That's what we're going to turn this rust into. So it'll be, just sweep it off. You can just brush it off with a little wire brush when this is done. I'll show you how it works. Alright, it's been about an hour. The water definitely looks more murky, and I've noticed over here, looking by this rod that's welding those together, can you see that kind of nasty looking rust muck that's collecting around that? I'm also kind of seeing it around the edge of the box, and I took some a clothespin and actually just hung another piece of metal right there that I found on the end of that wire. I mean right in the middle of it, on the end of the box. See some bubbles around these, but you can actually see, if I stay still, you probably see the water's moving. See that? There's no wind in here. That stuff is just moving around with electric current. If you look, it was on the 2, now it's about on 3. So it's actually pulling 3 amps, even though I've got it set over here on 12 volt 2 amp, which I thought would limit it, to 2 amps. But it looks like, unless this meter's wrong, it's pulling about 3 right there. So I'm going to leave it alone, leave it on that low amperage, and we'll just leave the sucker overnight. This is about an hour. Alright, here we are. This is about 12 hours after we started it, and boy, there's a lot of activity. You can see it moving around still. I'm still pulling a little less than 3 amps. And I'm starting to get a lot of rust accumulation up here around the anodes. That's what they call them. Alright, this is 24 hours that they've been in there, and they are really starting to change the way they look. And look how much crud is on top of this water. A lot on there. A lot coming up off of it. So it's still running about, let's see, 2.5 amps now. It kind of fluctuates between 2 and 3 amps, but that water's stirring still. If I hold still, you can probably see it. Yep. Alright guys, this is 48 hours with the parts in this electrolysis system I set up the other day. So there's still a lot of activity going on. I mean, if you look at it, it's just bubbling up and everything. I think what I'm going to do is turn the system off. I'll unplug it first, unhook it off of here, lift these things up, and kind of take a brush and just see how good they're doing. So let's try to get that on film so you guys can see it for the first time as well, okay? So power off. Unhooking my little clamps because I just don't want to get all this wet if I start sloshing around. This is the way I store it. So you can see my negative is just here on this plastic handle, and even if it did touch down to the metal, it's the negative, so ground is the metal as well. And then my positive is suspended up here on the back of this little insulated piece of that one. So that way if somebody plugs it up, they're not shorting out. Just a little trick. Alright, look at this. A lot of crud in there. kind of getting on that bar too, since that bar is ferrous. Man, just moving it around that water, a ton of stuff just fell off of it too. See, it did turn black like we were talking about. This is the magnetite, where it's basically converted that rust to something very stable. So now, let me grab my steel brush, and let's just, it's not acid, y'all. This is just, it's just soap in this water, really. I mean, it's a cleansing agent. It's kind of a salt, actually, if you look at what it is. Oh yeah. That stuff's gonna come off easy. But probably what I'll do is I'll get my grinder. It has a wire wheel on it, and I'll really get after this. I just gonna want to see what it do if I flake some off. You know how it's gonna look. Sit it up here on this piece of wood. Oh, that's just, I mean, just falling off. You know, so I'll be able to get this down to where it's paintable, probably, right, with a real good wire brushing and drying it off, and cleaning it. Ford F100 67. Alright, looks like they're really doing well in here. Let's set them back down in there. You can feel the soap in that water. That's kind of neat. Tell you what, for our experiment, let's leave that one kind of with me where I flaked it off a little bit, and we'll leave this other one pretty much untouched. We'll just keep them. I know another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take that bolt out, and I'm going to hang this wire directly on the bracket, so it's getting good contact with that bracket instead of that bolt. I'm going to do that instead of, look at that bolt just unscrews. Well, I guess they broke that loose when they got it for me out of the wrecking yard, because they had to take the shock off. Sit that up there for a minute. I had my wire on this bolt. So now, I'm going to bring this up here where you can see it. That bolt, this part for some was clean because it was probably covered with the shock itself, but these were just rusty. And now, I mean, I hadn't even brushed them. I didn't brush these much. But they just hand screwed on. Look at that. So I'm going to keep going a little bit. I think it's doing a good job. These are going to be very reusable, repaintable. No issues. Alright, so we're going to run this wire in here. Might as well just go through both of those holes. Get good contact. Down does it need to hang like that. Okay, one untouched and one untouched and one we kind of messed with here. I'll hook all this back up and we'll look at it in another 24 hours. Alright guys, just a real quick update. You remember yesterday I kind of brushed these off? Only one. I did an experiment inside of an experiment, and I only brushed really the one on the right. You can see the dark on this board where I was laying it up here. It is bubbling. This is the third day. We're at 72 hours, and it is bubbling, giving off hydrogen, probably like an Alka-Seltzer. I mean, it's just crazy. And then this one, it is not. And so the experiment within the experiment, it's doing it a little bit right here on the top, kind of by the bolt. But down in there, it's not giving off as much as the other one. I mean, look at this. Can you see how that one just freaking going crazy in there? So anyway, definitely brushing it halfway I think makes a difference. We're going to take them out and brush them all off real good, and maybe take a electric wire brush and just get crazy on them and just see how pretty they are. But this is the third day. There's a ton of sediment in the bottom. The water, in fact, is getting a little clearer than yesterday, and all that sediment's just on the bottom. I bet I got an inch, it looks like, down there. You can see it, of sediment. So this experiment's going well, and I think I've got me a setup here to get rid of rust. Looking. Wanted to show you a few things. it's just interesting. I mean, to kind of wrap up this. This is the one I had kind of just clothespin to the side, so it definitely made contact. And you know, this is why you don't want to reverse your wires. You need the negative going to the part, and the positive goes to all these guys, because look at the barnacle-y stuff that basically came off of these. Look how that is. This is the one that I kind of halfway through I kind of scrubbed it with a wire brush. I mean, just real lightly, no big deal, just knocked off the loose stuff. This one I didn't knock off the loose stuff, but what I found is it's loose. So underneath is the, see how it just drags off? Underneath it's pretty much like that one, but not quite as good. I mean, I would probably do a little, it's real black again, just see my finger, but I would probably do a middle brush on them. I'd do something about midway through what you think you're going to do. If you're going to do 2 days, after the first day I'd take them out and just wire brush them, knock off some of that loose. A lot better, like say in here than in here. Still kind of real crusty. I mean, it's coming off, but they'll both probably clean up pretty good, especially with an electric wire brush, you know, on an angle grinder or something. But I think getting in there and kind of getting them clean, I mean, getting them relatively knocked off about halfway through is a real good deal. Most of that sprayed off, but you can see why you again don't want to get these reversed. I mean, these pieces of metal are being sacrificed basically for the good of the part you're trying to get the rust off of. Something very interesting here. I want to show you the difference in these. This one is the one that was on the right that I temporarily just, you know, kind of wire brushed it halfway through the process. And man, I mean, it's clean, and it has this really unique rough feel to it that, I mean, I think I'm gonna be able to, you know, wire brush, and then that's gonna hold paint so good, you know, because the pitting in the metal is actually almost like it's been roughened up with shot paint or something, you know. And I look at this one, and it's just not as clean. I mean, it just didn't get a chance to get as clean and nice as the one I you know, brushed off halfway. I mean, it feels similar. It just totally don't look the same. I mean, look at those side by side. This one actually kind of got back down to actual metal looking color. This one's still very black even after the power wash. So definitely is a best known method. Go ahead and brush it off halfway through the process and let it go for another day or so. I mean, even just look on the top of right here on this, all very clean, and then this is dirty and nasty. It just needs an in-between scrub to do a really good job. So it's wire brush time. Let's see what it looks like. Kind of want to show you after I poured this out. Of course, tons of sediment, but just all the heavy rust that came off. You know, lots of rust. Alright guys, I lost the footage where I wire brushed these, but I did take a wire brush on the end of my grinder and I went over these really well and just kind of got anything else that was on them off of them. And then you see here I'd put a coat of heavy primer paint on. Probably 500 grit wet dry sandpaper, and then I'll go with my black.